Brief introduction to the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, first published in 1798 by Samuel Taylor Coleridge in a joint poetry volume called Lyrical Ballads with William Wordsworth. The rime is a ballad which relates the tales of a sailor who has just returned from a long sea voyage. This ancient mariner stops another man who is on his way to a wedding ceremony and begins to tell him his tale. As the guest listens, he goes from feeling confused to impatient. As if a stranger were to stop you on a street, it would make you feel that way. And as the guest listens more, the guest feels even fearful. However, he finally becomes fascinated by the ancient mariner's tale. In this epic poem, there are various themes and motifs. There's a feeling of the transportive power of imagination. There's a playfulness between philosophy and religion and poetry. The power of nature in the development of the individual. Other motifs are prevalent, such as the natural world, frame poetry. There's symbolism in the sun, the moon, dreams, and dreaming. According to the University of Idaho, Sublime experiences, whether in nature or in art, inspire awe and reverence, an emotional understanding that transcends rational thought in words or language. For romantics like Coleridge or Keats, the sublime is a meeting of the subjective internal, emotional, and the objective external, the natural world. We allow our emotions to overwhelm our rationality as we experience the wonder of creation. It has some relevance to another idea, negative capability. The use of present dialogue, which relates to a past tale, is an example of the frame narrative, that idea of a story within a story, like in Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, that Russian doll effect. Therefore, are we to trust the ancient mariner's version of the story? Is everything 100% true? That is the question. The rime of the ancient mariner is in ballad form. It is a long ballad composed of 7 parts. Each quatrain, each 4-line of verse, is either in A-B-A-B or A-B-C-B rhyming. And each line is either longer or shorter in order to create a constant rhythm. Interestingly, a ballad can also be played alongside music, and the rock group Iron Maiden have made a song which accompanies the rime of the ancient mariner. At the end of part 1, there is the rising action and conflict, which begins with the mariner shooting an albatross as the ship sails into icy Antarctic waters. This shooting of the bird, despite the fact that it had appeared to be a good omen, leading the boat out of dangerous ice pack. So in part 2, the negative consequences seemingly tied to the bird's death become apparent. These consequences are also related in some way to Christianity, spiritualism, often. For example, line 91, it says, I had done a hellish thing, so hellish, nor dim nor red like God's own head, God, line 97. Line 1, 2, 3, the very deep did rot, O Christ, so the Christ. Line 1, 2, 8, 9, the death fires danced at night, the water like witches' oils. So in these 2 lines, you can see kind of the spiritualism, the paganism. Line 1, 3, 2, of the spirit that plagued us. So, and 1, 4, 2, famous lines, instead of the cross, the albatross about my neck was hung. Of course, the body of the albatross with long wingspan, the head and the body would look much like a cross to some extent, with a bird flying overhead. So perhaps the sailors would see it as a symbol of religion. So here is my personal reaction to the poem. I think that the poem, much like the tales of the ancient mariner, is something which is iterative. What I mean is that you hear the poem, you hear the ballad once, and you understand so much, and it affects you in one way, and then you would hear it again and again and again, and it would change as you change as an individual. I personally like the allusions to nature and sea voyages. Some of my favorite stories have been in that field. For example, the Sea Wolf by Jack London is a great story related to sea adventures. So I like the mysticism, the spirituality, that kind of play between religion and naturalism. I also think the idea of not knowing is interesting in the poem. So uh, there's a kind of a mystery about it, which I find appealing, and I think it could be made more relevant to today's audience through the musical form. So perhaps for a younger audience, a rap is a way that they could see that, that how is life interpreted. It's a very personal, subjective journey this mariner goes on, and he relates it to other people. But how much of it is true, we don't really know. How much of it did he dream? How much of it is reality? So it has that sensibility, that romantic element, which is very interesting in a world which is very factual these days. We can also enjoy the individual inside of that broader scheme.